Good morning. Happy hump day, everybody. How is everybody this morning? It is a beautiful day. It is finally, seems like it's starting to get warmer out here. It has been so chilly lately. And so, good morning, Jennifer. Happy hump day. That much closer to the weekend. Good morning, Mama Kim. So I am just going to jump right into this because this is probably going to be a long story, and I try to keep these under 15 minutes. So today I wanted to talk about the struggles that I've gone through with one of my sons. Good morning, Beth. And if you guys catched me back a few weeks ago, I talked about when I had my daughter and losing my daughter. Good morning, Courtney. So if you guys caught that episode, this is kind of just like a spin-off right after that. So what had happened was I lost my daughter, and a few months later, we found out that my first husband's cousin was going to have her, eighth baby. She was like 29 years old. She had already had all the kids taken away from her. She was talking about having an abortion. She was already like halfway through her pregnancy. Good morning, Yuri. Good morning, Kayla. And the loss that we had with my daughter was it was still fresh. So maybe within like 3-4 months when we had found out about this. And so we said, let us adopt the baby. I'll make sure you get to all the doctor's appointments. So we did that, and end up having this little baby boy. Was in the operating room when she had a C-section, born super healthy. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Jeanette. Good morning, Stacy. And so I literally took home the baby from the hospital right after he was born. We just did everything with the social workers on site. We had already taken in 2 of her other children, her oldest and her youngest at the time, so through CPS. And I was 21, so still young. And I had my oldest son already, who was 2.5. So we had a busy household, and as you can see, I started at a very young age, being a parent as well as taking in other people's children, just trying to do my part and to take care of these kids that people just don't take care of. So thank you, Beth, you're sweet. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Denise. And so what had happened, so I have this beautiful baby boy, took him home straight from the hospital. When everything was fine, 1.5 years old, my first husband passed away. And so that would be his adopted dad. And so I spent years trying to be a good parent and to try to supplement being a better mom, I guess, because they didn't have their dad around, and because of the way that their dad left. So kind of always gave my kids too much and little spoiled little brats. And so now getting into like teenage years. So unfortunately, they never ever had a real man to stand up for them after I lost their dad. There was never a man that actually came in and was trying to be a good stepdad, as in loving and discipline at the same time. I think that's really hard for men, especially when it's not your biological child, to love and discipline. I think especially too when they start to become like teenagers, they go through all this like bad, attitude and everything, and they hate you, and so we get into these teenage years, right? So now we are, I think 13, and my son is one of those super social people, super social, always hanging out with people, a little bit different than my older son. He's a total introvert, so he stays in the house all the time. And, we started to notice a problem with he was then now And this is Sebastian that I'm talking about too, you guys. Sebastian. He was about 15, and I noticed that he was starting to come home high all the time, and just a constant thing. Like, he could never wake up for school. Then he was sneaking out. Then he was stealing the car that my older son was driving to get to and from school. And so all these bad things just started to pick up. And eventually he ended up running away from home, and he was gone for like 2 weeks, living in a building that was like under construction, like a huge like apartment building. And then there was like it's like all new construction in this one area, and then they were building a hotel and all that stuff. And so he was living there, and finally I got a call one day 2 weeks later for me to come pick him up, that he had been done over it. At that point, I was done over it. I was trying to basically save his life. So I was calling all around to those crazy boy schools, like in the middle of nowhere in Montana, and literally told him, I said, we're leaving in 2 days. You're going to Montana. I said, I will go with you at first. And I go, if I find that it's not a good fit for you, then I won't make you stay. So we flew to Montana. It was actually a really good trip, and he was a little nervous, and gosh, I can remember leaving him there and really not knowing, like, you know, is this going to help him? At least he's going to be safe, you know, because he was doing so many things, like so many things. And so it was, you know, we were paying $10,000 a month for him to be there. And it was even like, they do schooling, and they were teaching him about God, and they were doing, you know, a lot of manual labor and just learning how to be like proper men. So we got to see him basically every 3 months. We'd have to like fly there. They did like a whole parents' weekend. But I remember like feeling like I am just a total failure as a parent. Like, how do you even do that? I mean, it's so hard because each kid needs something so much different, and it's so hard to be able to just give them what they need, because one, kids now are just in their social media and their technology, and they have no idea, I feel, about like the outside world and what real communication is, and just the bullying that is done online and all that stuff. It makes for, yes, such a harder way to live versus like if you're my age, I'm gonna be 40, like we didn't have that crap, and people just weren't like that then. So it's so much different now for kids. They feel like they have these pressures to be like somebody else, or they're not cool enough if they're not doing this. And then it's all about, you know, taking pictures and getting enough likes and, you know, being cool that way. And so it's so hard because I left him there for 10 months, and he did so well. He even got baptized up there. He ended up becoming a junior staff leader, which means that he didn't even have to sleep in the bunks with the other guys anymore. He got to sleep in like the main house with all the leaders. And so I had finally decided that after 10 months that it was time to bring him home. And we tried to change things. We wanted to, ideally, the best thing to do is you can never bring back a kid back into the same environment. So you can never put him back into the same city. And, you know, our whole life, our gym, we have a gym lease here, you know, that we even still have a couple of years on. And, you know, that was our bread and butter, is being gym owners and personal trainers that were able to even fund him being in Montana. You know, we spent a lot of money, like it's crazy, like how much we spent for him to be there. He learned a lot of really good things, but bringing him back into the same city, and, you know, I had him change schools and everything, and he slowly just started slipping back into bad behaviors. And it's like, what do you do? Because I've constantly deal with the issue of him saying and comparing himself to my birth son, even though I've had him both same amount of times. I took him home from the hospital. You know, he is my son. I wouldn't think anything different of him. But he doesn't comprehend that because he gets in so much more trouble and it puts me through so much. Of course he's going to get treated differently. Of course he's not going to earn things like a new cell phone or have the rights to, you know, get help with getting a car. You know, I try to help him with a car. He got a hand-me-down so he can get to and from school, so he can go and get a job and work. And that just backfired because he just ended up thrashing the car. And in December, he actually totaled the car. But it has just been a constant nightmare that I don't even know how to fix. I can't fix it. I'm not going to throw him on the street because then he's going to think that I really don't love him. And he already thinks like because he was adopted that people are just going to throw him away. And so if I now throw him out, then I'm basically like throwing him away. So it is so hard to punish somebody that feels that way inside about themselves and the whole issue of the adoption and stuff. And you know, it's so hard. It really is. And it's something that I can't help fix until he fixes himself. Now he's a high school dropout. He doesn't have a job. He basically, his girlfriend takes care of him. And, you know, everybody says tough love, but I think at some point you can't give somebody tough love when they're so broken inside already. So that's where I am. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, that it's a battle that I've been dealing with for at least the last almost 5 years, because he's going to be 19 soon. But if you guys have any advice, I would love to hear it. But you know, I just try to love him as much as I can. Sometimes it's very hard because he's such a little turd, but you know, I do love him with all my heart, just as much as I love my other son that I birthed. So, yeah, so that's my story. And it's just another fact of you don't ever know what people are going through. I don't try to share all these things on social media because, one, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. And two, I'm just be one more person that's going to add to the negative fuel on your guys' newsfeed. And I am not doing that. So all I can do is pray and pray and pray and hope that one day that boy finds Jesus again, because that's the only thing at this point that's going to be able to feel that missing part inside his heart to be better. So just trying to be positive as much as I possibly can. And yep, so that's my story about my son, my constant struggle. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have an amazing hump day. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. And I'll talk with you guys soon. Take care. Bye.